Just waiting for everybody to populate here. Thanks for joining us for the post-game media availability with Austin FC head coach Josh Wolff. Looks like our first questions will come from Chris Bills and Mike Craven. Chris, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I might pass until. Oh, here we go. Permission to record. No, I'm still waiting on it, actually.
Okay, we'll come back to you.
Thanks.
Mike?
Yeah, Coach, in a game like this that you know is going to require a lot of effort, how early do you know that the guys have it? Was it the first 2 minutes of the game? Was it pregame? Kind of when did you know they were going to play pretty well?
Well, I think it'd be arrogant to say that I knew we were going to win the game, but I certainly, we feel good about each game we're going into. And again, I think we knew what the opponent was going to be about. We knew it was a derby. So intensity, morale, mentality were things that we talked about the last 2 days. I think Chris mentioned that, in one of our questions pressers earlier in the week. And these guys have great mentality. They come in, they play, we compete. And look, we haven't gotten the results we wanted, but tonight, again, I think our urgency to play and certainly do the things that we want to do and have been a staple for us thus far. We're on display. I think the 3 goals were all done in a real, a real collective way, in the way that we like to play with the mobility, the speed, the circulation, getting into areas that cause problems. And then again, I wouldn't say I knew we had it until the final whistle blew, because we made it a lot more interesting than we ever really needed to. And, that's unfortunate, but we learned from it. It forced us to grind a little bit and stress a little bit. And those are also things that we need to learn to deal with. But, happy to see Tomas get his first goal. Glad to see Nicky and Pereira get out on the field. And, again, a nice collective effort. Good soccer in there. For the most part, there was some good quality soccer. Obviously, they're down a guy, which makes it a little bit easier on us. But you still got to go do the business. And I would have liked to see us get a couple more goals and, again, have a better ending to it. We made it harder than we needed to on ourselves.
Does the, strategy or anything change when they go down to 10 men, or is it just kind of keep doing what the game plan was kind of?
Well, yeah, I think one, you want to see how the first half continues to play out. When they're down a guy, it's still about circulation, still about gaining our positioning, and we certainly let our foot off the gas. And when we went up a guy, I didn't love the tempo and the urgency that we had. I think it picked up towards the end of the half. It certainly picked up in the second half. But you got to go after the throat. You got to get the third. You got to get the fourth. You got to end the game and just take away the hope. And you do that by moving the ball, but you also got to keep thinking about getting goals and getting 2 goals. So we'll talk about those things, but I'm happy for the guys. Obviously, in front of our fans, to get 3 goals, to get a win is really, really important. And as I mentioned, some really positive contributions from guys tonight. Tomas, I thought, played really solid. Hector, again, was extremely good. And again, I think Johnny gave us a good bit of verticality and work that again helped us, and we got to get Danny some minutes, which was helpful. Big game coming on Saturday against Dallas, so we look forward to the next derby.
Yeah, Coach, to seeing Tomas play the way he did today in that number 10, or in that central role, I guess, what were you looking to get from him tonight? What did you see from him? And how important is it to see more performances like this from him as you get a little more crowded in midfield and you got to decide who's going to be on the...
Yeah, again, I think when there's other guys in there, in and around him, Diego's comfortable as a winger coming inside. You certainly see what Seba and Alex can do, controlling the build-up and certainly attracting the opponent, making space for Tomas. But, for Tomas, we're working on him tirelessly on being more present in the pocket, turning in the pockets. He likes to pull out wide. That's also something we've incorporated into our game model just to benefit him as well. He gets over into those side areas and faces forward and can still dribble through pressure, but we want those overloads in the channels, and he can help give us that. And it's just the balance of responsibility with the ball and playing with risk, but you want players like him to have a level of freedom, but it's still got to fit into the context of how we play. There's still a responsibility, and he's growing into that. I think tonight was a bit better for him, and again, I think everyone was pretty pleased. I think Matt Besler challenged a few guys this week in some of our meetings, and he was one of them, and he responded really well. So from that standpoint, that's what you like to see amongst your team, your leaders, your captains, and guys that have experience. So hopefully this will go a long ways in continuing to build him within our group, but ultimately it was about the group. So we're pretty pleased with the result.
Yeah, and I'm curious about, you said Matt Besler challenged some guys. What has that looked like in this group to see them kind of go through this adversity for the first time, see who some of those leaders are, and see the response from players tonight?
Yeah, you got to learn how to win. You got to learn how to win in this league. We got a lot of guys that have been to World Cups, play internationally, but some guys have been part of good teams, and some haven't been part of real teams with chemistry and camaraderie and environment and culture. So, we need that. We need that from everybody, not just Matt and Alex, but it's good to see these guys. Again, they understand what's happening. All the players understand what's happening. We've performed well. We haven't scored enough goals, and that's those are things we talk about. We go back to the process, how we play, the way we work, what type of mentality and attitude we bring every day, and we come and compete. And again, some of the challenging is behind the scenes, but it's needed. I do the same thing with the guys, and obviously as staff we get challenged in other ways. But it was a good response from the guys. Again, I would have liked to seen us finish that off a little bit better.
Phil?
All right, thanks, and congrats, Josh. I wanted to just ask you a little bit about the preparation headed into this game. I mean, obviously there was a pre-game losing streak, that and certainly players had to be, kind of upset about that. So was there anything kind of different? Was Driussi and Gaines coming into the squad for practice? I know Driussi was practicing with the rest of the team, but did that have any kind of impact on the mentality, how the guys responded?
Well, I think Driussi being present and guys, being able to see him and talk to him, again, he's a very charismatic guy, very professional, and we talk about how this group is going to continue to get better and continue to get healthy. There's going to be competition. There's going to be spots on the field that, are going to become more challenging for selection. And I think that's a positive. Again, I think Sebastian is a professional. He's a very humble, intelligent footballer, and we look forward to incorporating him into the team for the first time tomorrow. But just his presence and his ability to bring guys together, and guys, he himself going to them, but them coming to him, I think says a lot about his demeanor and his certainly his effect and charisma. But no different preparation. I think we reviewed the last game, talked about things that we got to get better on. Understood what Houston was going to look like, but again, we continue to focus on ourselves and the little things that we need to continue to get better at. I mean, it's not hard to talk about what's lacking for us. It's goals, and outside of that, we play pretty well. We defend pretty well. Tonight's disappointing. Those aren't goals that we should be giving away. There's nothing that they did that put us in a position that should happen. So from that standpoint, we got to take accountability and get better from it, because that should never happen. There was no pressure on either of those really, and that's frustrating from our standpoint.
Was there anything formationally that you did differently that you think maybe made things a little bit more direct, a little bit more goal-centric?
Well, I don't direct. For us, direct isn't. Sometimes you need to play over through pressure a little bit more directly. But I think we had Seba and Alex sitting a little bit lower. So again, that allowed Tomas. When Tomas finds pockets, we want the other pocket occupied by our other winger. We've also used fullbacks inside and wingers wide and low. So we move around positionally, flexibility. We have a decent flexibility, but some of that depends on what the opponent's doing. We knew they were going to be in more of a 4-5-1 or 4-1-4-1, so those were our starting points. And then when they went down a guy, you have to stay aggressive. And again, I think our fullbacks' height was important, really getting to areas that we're going to question their fullbacks, but the circulation, the speed, the ability of our midfielders to connect, and the spacing needs to be right to really be able to move the ball in an expedited way that we're able to get access in front of goal. And I think we did that well on a few occasions, and I want to see it more. That's part of what we do. Against five backs that we faced, it's a different animal. But we're going to learn from our past failures, and tonight was a real positive and a step in a good direction.
Ben?
Hey, Josh, congrats on the win. What kind of momentum does this give you going into another big rivalry match on Saturday in front of a lot of hundreds of fans making the trip up to Dallas?
Yeah, we'll definitely have hundreds, and I would from what I've heard, it'll be north of that, that's for sure. But our fans travel well, and they're awesome because we've seen them in Colorado, we've seen them in Minnesota. It's going to be hopefully a great scene for our fans to go on the road, and again, our second derby. And we talked about that a lot this week. Our first two derbies, let's take care of business in the first one and set ourselves up for the second one. So part of that job's done. Now we got to recuperate. As you mentioned, momentum is a big part of this entire league, but good performances help us build momentum when you get results. So the first thing is understanding what we did well here and knowing what it's going to look like against Dallas. Again, it's going to be a physical game. They're concluding their game right now against Seattle. So we'll be able to evaluate and analyze that game. But it's momentum's key. But getting these guys fresh, and obviously we're going to need to make some changes, so that's important as well. And again, we got Nicky in the game. We got Danny Pereira in the game. And obviously we got some guys off a little bit earlier than probably we expected, so that's also a nice plus. And we'll have Sebastian Driussi available, and that's those are exciting things. But we'll prep as we always do, get these guys in a good state where they understand what the opponent's going to look like, but most importantly, what we need to look like.
Oh, we're going back to Mike Craven.
Coach, this may be a little early to ask this question because you haven't been able to watch the film and stuff, but between Colorado, Portland, and today, 10 goals in those 3 games, 3 goals in the other 13. I'm curious if you can kind of identify a couple of, maybe factors or similarities between either the performances or the lineups or kind of what kind of ties those together.
I think one thing ties it together: getting the goal. I mean, when we beat Minnesota in Minnesota, we could have had 3 or 4 goals. It's a confidence thing. It's a desire. When these guys get a goal, they're hungry, and it's a little bit of them believing in what we're doing, and it takes that goal for them to believe that right now. And I think the past, when we don't get those goals, and it's affected us, but I've said it before when we come into these meetings, when we get one, these guys are thirsty and they're hungry for more, which is what I love. And sometimes it's going to happen in the first 10 minutes, sometimes it's going to happen in the 70th, 80th, 90th minute, but you got to maintain your focus. You got to try to stay calm and create chances. Again, we need to create chances. We need to have good performances. That's what's most important. The goals will come. And tonight we got the benefit of the first one probably getting knocked in on its own, but the second 2 were very nice, and there were opportunities for more. So I want these guys to keep pushing for that. But I was happy we got some goals, and most importantly, happy that we got the win. And these fans deserve it. They've been fantastic for us at home, and tonight, hopefully we rewarded them for some of the past defeats.
Is there a way to kind of build that confidence, or does that just come organically from kind of seeing the ball hit the back of the net?
I think that's a big part of it. But again, that's why we go back to the process. How do we plan on creating chances? How do we expect to score goals from the moment our goalie has it to the moment we get to the other end? And we have a pretty clear picture of that, and we've done a decent job of that. And I'd say we've gotten better in a lot of areas. Again, set pieces have been a real positive for us. We've gotten much stronger. We've just missed on a few. And even in the last 3 games. So there's plenty of room to grow, but it's confidence. It's seeing what you just said, seeing the ball go in, the believability to it. And when they do that, you can see the attitude, the demeanor, whatever the word is you want to use, the hunger and the belief is much more relevant and present. So we'll work on it. We've worked on finishing. We worked on finishing attacks. We've done a lot in the last few weeks, but until they see it happen, and they make it happen, and they feel that, that joy of scoring. It can be challenging. But tonight was nice to see 3.
Good. We got time for 2 more. We'll go to John Lupo, followed by Claire Pertin. John.
Josh, to that point, you completed over 67% of your passes, almost half of your shots were on goal. Your passing accuracy was almost 90%. I know there are some things you want to clean up, but do you think this is like a template for the way you want to execute on the offensive end?
I think there's phases, definitely. I think there's some parts to how we finished attacks. And again, I'd say how we handled ourselves out wide, some of the overloads, some of the rotations. And again, do we get to the end line on that side, or do we now recirculate and get behind the line, or, again, isolate the edge on the weak side? Those are a lot of things that we constantly talk about. But I think there are some blueprints there to help us. And again, it's a lot of the things that we've worked on. So from that standpoint, again, I hope the players feel that, see that, and sense what the work's been about, and it helps validate everything that we work on. It won't make up for the games that we haven't gotten the results, but I think it puts them in a good place mentally with what it needs to look like, what the level of execution can be, and how each individual fits into the collective. And that's what we're going to keep pushing, man. And the more we can focus on that and that process, I think we'll continue to get better. We'll enjoy this win for a couple hours. We'll get rested up, and we look forward to a Dallas team that's also had some good results and also will come in with some momentum.
Claire?
Hey, Coach. Coach, you already went into this a little bit, but how do you think having a healthier roster once again and having some more depth is going to affect y'all's outcome on the pitch?
I think it'll drastically affect our outcome. When you have quality and you have a full roster, and obviously we've got a couple new players that are coming in with Sebastian and Musa, Danny being healthy, Nick being healthy, competition is a must in this league. The season's long, it's a grind. You need rotations, but you also need these guys competing and feeling when they come to work every day, which they come. They compete and they work, but when you know there's someone knocking on the door asking questions as a player and as a teammate, it pushes you a little more. So it's nice to see, and we'll continue to use everybody. I was glad to get a lot of guys in there tonight. Good to see some very strong performances, and again, Nicky, Pepe getting healthy is good for us, and again, it'll be a nice opportunity, hopefully, to introduce Sebastian in this game against Dallas. I know he's chomping at the bit. It's been great to work with him in a more individual manner over the last few days, and I look forward to it. Really sweet, hungry, humble, intelligent football, and I look forward to seeing him out on the field with our group.